Hey y'all, how's it going? Sorting Helmet here, back with yet another episode of, well, the Madness Estate. Today we're not doing a usual run, we're going to be doing a little class review, and I kind of changed up how I'm doing the class review stuff. Getting a little bit more concise with how I present the skills rather than just reading out the tooltips to you. I'm doing some vanilla comparisons this time around. But anyways, there's a new class that just dropped called the Mediator by Miyaki, if I'm saying that right. What makes this class and this mod very interesting is that they're a one-person mod making machine, just like Marvin Sayo. What I mean by that is they do the code, animation, art, writing, all the works. They do everything themselves, all self-contained over there. They also showcase a lot of their step-by-step process over on their Patreon, which I actually joined myself. I don't normally do that outside of a couple of people, but I joined their Patreon because I'm really like their work, and I'm biased. I like the animal ear aesthetic with their classes and stuff like that, so I might be a little bit biased in that regard. But I've been playing around with Mediator and all that. Now, Initiator is pretty cool when she came out, but nothing really about the Initiator kind of stands out to me, other than the art is all really cool and all that, and she has a really fun finale loop style. But Mediator is interesting in that she's a pretty fun little support. So I did a few runs in this and that. I also did a Cove run with her with my Snake team, and you might see something a little off here. In case people don't know, Snake Charmer and Shieldbreaker normally cannot party up together. I've noticed that when I was talking about this in my comment section, someone mentioned that one of LaVille's classes looks like a snake and they might not be able to party with the Shieldbreaker. And I don't like party restrictions, so I made a mod that just removed that restriction. Now, Viper had that removed a long time ago. I think Cerebral kind of agreed with the sentiment a long time ago, but no one's really made a Snake Charmer adjacent mods. There's people that made a Voivode no religion restriction mod, but stuff like that needs to be updated because he's been changed since that mod is now irrelevant. But I use Snake Charmer often enough, and I've always wanted to use him alongside Shieldbreaker, and he actually works pretty decently. Now, I'm using Cerebral's tweaked Shieldbreaker with Trinkets Plus from Vintage, so my Shieldbreaker is a little bit different from Vanilla, but with her skills able to add Bleed, and she has Bleed Blight synergy with some of her skills, this Samani kicks ass. And Snake Charmer, he ain't the, he's just a simple blighter. He ain't the best of the bunch, but he's okay. Mamba Dance is pretty good for the debuff. I feel like in order for Snake Charmer to really shine, you need to run his Color of Madness trinket. Otherwise, he kind of falls off a little bit. He's really good at Spam and Feast for that speed debuff and that blight resistance debuff, so that helps out a lot. But Mediator, let's go ahead and jump right into her. So you're gonna see a little cut. Apologies for that. This is recording after the dungeon run, so okay, let's take a look at some of her combat moves, and then we'll move on to her camping skills. So first up, we have Eigenshoot 2. This is pretty much almost one-for-one Poison Dart from Grave Robber. It has 5 less accuracy at 110, can be usable in positions 3 and 4, hits any enemy. This does 4 for 3, unlike Poison Darts, which does, I believe, 4 for 4, if I remember correctly. Yeah, so Poison Dart does 4 for 4, and it blights debuffs blight resistance for about 3 rounds. This, instead of blighting debuff resistance, this is debuffing both damage and dodge stats, which is pretty handy because lowering the enemy damage is a pretty good way to kind of weaken something. In order to get the most value out of this, you want to just keep, spamming it, this and that, or use it alongside either Intimidate with Leper or weakening Curse from Occultist, if you want to maximize that damage debuff. But taking off 15 dodge is always good for speedier targets. She's also very accurate with this, so she's likely to hit more speedier, dodgy targets. The blight chance is also pretty respectable at a 150% base chance and 7% positive crit. It also has the same damage modifier as Poison Dart itself at minus 60%. With 7 to 12 damage range, that's not too shabby, considering that Grave Robber herself has a 7 to 14 damage range. So that's not too bad at all. So she'll do pretty similar numbers to Grave Robber when it comes to outputting her dot and applying damage. However, she does slightly less due to her damage range only going from 7 to 12 as opposed to 14, and she does 1 round less of Blight, unlike Grave Robber. Next, we have Regeneration Accelerant. Now, Regeneration Accelerant is the closest comparison to this is on the hero Flagellant. Flagellant is the only vanilla source, from what I remember correctly, if I'm remembering this correctly, the only source of heal over time, and that is in the form of, what is it, Reclaim or Redeem? Reclaim. So Reclaim at its max level will heal 4 for 3 rounds with a chance of bleeding himself. What makes this good is this doesn't have such a downside of doing any status effect to herself or the target. In fact, this is a 4 for 3. So this is doing just as much heal over time as Reclaim is, but it's also buffing the target 25% healing received. Now, healing received is a little bit wonky, and that I believe it kind of caps out at a certain value of a base heal or whatever. So the less of a hard heal you do, such as from Divine Grace, less effective it'll be. I'm thinking Battlefield Bandage from Arbalest faces this problem. There's only so much you can buff healing on that skill until it kind of like tapers off and stops. But either way, healing received is still a very valuable buff to have on targets, especially when you factor in heal over time effects, AoE heals, any other supplementary healing. Especially if the buff can last after the battle, then you can apply food, and that will also get boosted as well. And due to the fact that this is pretty much Reclaim without the downside, this is a pretty strong heal. And basically the strongest heal you can get is Restoration. Because whenever you're on death's door and you are about to die to a dot, as long as you have even just 1 point of regeneration, you will not die. So this is pretty good. Now, you could factor that the downside of Reclaim is more of an upside because Flagellant wants to be bleeding. He wants to hit those HP thresholds for Exsanguinate and Redeem. For big fat funny heal and big fat funny bleed that he can do. So, I'll leave that. Balance in that aspect is kind of subjective. I have my own opinion on it. I think the bleed is more of a downside. Some people see it as an upside. Yada yada yada. Not that it really matters on Flagellant because Flagellant is freaking cracked. Anyways, this is a pretty good skill. Next, we have Decon and Dressing. Decontaminate and Dressing. So this is just Battlefield Medicine. 1 for 1, actually, from Plague Doctor. Heals 3 for 3 and cures a dot. Battlefield Medicine does the same exact thing. That's why Battlefield Medicine is really good. It gets rid of dot, gets rid of bleed, gets rid of blight, bleed, heals 3 for 3. One really good heal just to have. A lot of scary enemies in the game will burn you down with dots. So having this on hand is very good if you don't, because even if you have anti-venom and bandages, and someone's got a scary arterial pinch on themselves, you still have to take the first initial hit of that bleed in order to use a bandage. Decon and dressing is extremely good. Not for the heal, for the dot cleanse. This is very good. Very, very, very good. In fact, I wish Battlefield Bandage on Arbalest could cure bleed. That would make Battlefield Bandage even better, even though Battlefield Bandage has the upside of having the healing received. Even though, you know, healing received has weird interactions, but that's a discussion for another video. But Decon and dressing is good. This is a very, very good heal. Do not discredit this heal. It's one of the reasons why Plague Doctor is just like an automatic take on a lot of vanilla teams for me, is because of Battlefield Medicine. Alright, next up we have our stun. This is a pretty decent stun, actually, and this has a close analog to, well, Floor Spaghetti from Occultist. The only difference between Floor Spaghetti and this are a couple key differences. One, this is buffing her speed. Two, I think this has less accuracy. Let me pull up Occultist real fast. So Occultist at max level has 150% stun, reduces torch with a 13% crit modifier, and it sits at a minus 50% damage modifier with 110 accuracy. And this can hit positions 1 through 3, just like her stun can. Her stun differs slightly by having 10% less crit, buffs her speed, doesn't reduce any torch or anything like that, so no real downside. But do you really consider the torch a downside with Occultist freaking stun, especially when he has a trinket to buff it by even more? Occultist stun is probably the best fucking stun in the game. This is trailing behind that by 10%. It can still hit the same targets. Minus 25% damage mod, so it does a little bit more damage with 7 to 12 range, which is not too terrible. Considering Occultist's damage is around 7 to 13, so she'll be doing the similar numbers to him. In fact, she'll do a little bit more damage with her stun, so she's a little bit more offensive minded with her kit when it comes to that. But that's not too bad. Plus the speed buff is, it's good. I don't really factor it in too much, but having your healer go first before someone else that's like, I'm dying, you know, is pretty handy. But don't you dare touch me. This is a really fun animation. It's probably my favorite animation she has. She just takes her bag and goes, sweet! Just swings it. Smacks it upside the head. I love it. Plus, I love the skill icon. All of her skills have just so much personality. Like, her healing skills, Miyaki really took time to kind of, really focus on her allure and the feminine beauty of Elara and stuff like that. She said so herself. I'm just paraphrasing, but after seeing some of the animations, I definitely see it myself and all that, and I really enjoy this class so far. But don't you dare touch me. It's a pretty decent stun. I'm pretty happy where it sits. So this is very nice. Very, very good stun. Next up, we have pretty much a Force Guard. This is Antiquarian's, but a little bit better. This one kind of, I think, power creeps Antiquarian by a little bit. Protect Me can be used anywhere. Force Guard ally reduces some stress on herself, buff the target healing received, and buffs herself for speed. Now, let me go ahead and pull up Antiquarian real quick. Let's see. Alright, Protect Me is... Okay, no, Protect Me is better because marks the target, gives them prot, and dodge. Never mind. So Antiquarian is still better. So, this is good for a little stress heal, but mostly this is good for the mark and Force Guard. This is really good with people with riposte. This is good with people that have good prot. This is good for focusing. You could use this on Jester with solo dodge tanking up to the front and just miss 3/4 of the fucking attacks that come at him. Stuff like that. And when you Force Guard, if you have a Jester Force Guard herself and all that stuff, even though the mark is kind of a bit redundant, that's one less target that is able to dodge more attacks. Say someone throws an attack at position 4 and you have a solo dodge tanking Jester in position 1, you have her in position 4, that's one less target that's going to get murked by that attack, potentially, because Jester has freaking cracked dodge. So, this is good. Now, it's not as good as Antiquarian's Force target. Force guard, blah, blah, blah. But this is still good, just for the healing buff alone. That's good. Plus, she's buffering speed, and faster healer means faster chances of clearing dots with decon. I'm telling you, her self-buffing speed with this dot clearing, with her dot cleanse is phenomenal. Next we have vapors, but also not. So this neurostimulant is an interesting take on the vapors from Plague Doctor. This blights 3 for 2, buffs target 15% damage, 10 accuracy, and 13% crit. I'm loving that crit buff. I'm going to tell you that right now. That crit buff is the reason why you press that skill. Now let's take a look at Invigorating Vapors, or Emboldening Vapors, excuse me. So Emboldening Vapors is 25% damage, 5 speed. That's it. Use Shard Dust, you can stack it twice, yada yada yada, or you can just keep stacking it. Emboldening Vapors is why a lot of people have one-shot videos of spoiler, the final boss of Darkest Dungeon and 4. They just bring like 2 or 3 fucking Plague Doctors. They go, okay, sniff this, and just keep using Shard Dust. You could even do this before Shard Dust was a thing. But Emboldening Vapors is, you know, cheese potential. Now this has a little bit more value over just spamming it. You can spread this to 2 different people, and that crit alone is probably just as good, if not better, than just straight up cracking out your damage by plus 50%. Why do I think that is? A massive crit bonus is really good because I would rather crit than have more damage. Crit gives you 20% more chance to any status applying skill, be it dot, debuff, move skill, whatever. Has 20% more chance of landing anything on top of max rolling your damage plus a bonus. It doesn't matter how well debuffs do factor and stuff like that, and the buffs do help and all that, but crit is like the biggest jump in damage you'll see out of anything you can do, other than, you know, cheese stacking, basically stalling and stacking your fucking buffs till the fucking sun comes up and shit like that, the roosters crow and yada yada yada. But if you need a buff here and now, you need something you want to bank on a gamble, Neurostimulant is good for like a 1 use, 2 use. There you go. So normally I wouldn't run Emboldening Vapors if I'm not cheesing the fuck out of the boss, because you know, damage is damage, whatever. This gives me accuracy and crit. I'm paying my accuracy tax, and I'm getting fucking crit, which is, to me, the best offensive fucking buff you can get is more crit. I don't care if I'm blighted a little bit. I'll fucking take it. I'm gonna blow shit up with a fucking grave robber and run around with 60% plus crit, if not more, if I'm not running freaking crit trinkets. This is crazy good. Very good, actually. And now we have the big funny button. The big funny button. There's a couple guys that have a big funny button. What is a big funny button? Have you ever looked at Power College List and seen Goldinger Cage? Goldinger Cage is just a big long tooltip of just crazy effects. This is not so crazy. It's more of it's interesting. So this doesn't have a direct vanilla comparison other than Divine Comfort, which is the AoE heal from Vestal. But fuck Vestal. No one likes Vestal. Fuck Vestal. Seriously, but Vestal is poop. The other thing she does is, well, tiny little heal, maybe a little bit of, well, she does a little bit of healing and tiny little stun, but she's good, but she's the worst of the good, if that makes sense. But this This is interesting. You're getting a flat heal. This can take people up this door. You're applying a regeneration for 2 rounds. Thankfully, it's not 3. I'm happy to see that. So this is healing 2 plus 6, so 3 over 2 rounds. So you're healing for about 8 across the party, with an 18% chance of lowering stress by 25. This hits everybody, by the way. This has a cooldown 2 rounds, so that's good in and of itself. You can't cheese it with shard dust. You can't sit there and take space crack and keep spamming this. A cooldown is a great way of limiting a skill's effectiveness, and I think Miyaki had that in mind when considering balancing this skill. I might be just assuming, but a cooldown is a great way to put a big funny button in check like this. Buff target 3 speed. Everyone gets 3 speed, 5 accuracy, and 10% crit. That, again, that crit. Oh. The restoration and the crit is why you press this. Now you have a 45% chance of having your dodge tanked down by 15. That is a big downside. Dodge is very valuable in the endgame champion difficulty of Darkest Dungeon. You don't take what you dodge. You don't take any stress, you don't take any chip damage, you don't take any chances of getting status, blighted, bled. If you dodge it, you avoid everything of it, and that's effectively a soft stun. When an enemy attacks you and they miss, they've wasted their turn. Now you've taken this. This is a very good, this is a very powerful skill. I lead every fight with this skill. I value this skill because of the restoration, especially if I'm running a hyper aggro team and I go, big funny number, who cares? Let's just start with this and, steamroll. This is a good way to open a fight for me. I love opening fights with this. I just press it, done, and just, go hell or high water, basically. Very good, very good. Plus it's buffing speed, which is kind of, this pretty much battle ballad with a heal. If you think about it. This is battle ballad with a heal and a slight debuff. Now, 20% stress, whatever. And as long as you're not stacking fucking ancestor trinkets and taking more stress than your fucking brain and heart can handle it, 20% extra stress is like extra 2, maybe 3 on some enemies. Yeah, sure, you'll get hit a little bit harder by stress bombs, but it's not the biggest issue in the world as long as you know how to manage it. Plus, with all the crits she's fucking handing out to her party members, I've always keep saying in a lot of my videos that critting is essentially a secondary way of stress healing. As long as you're critting reliably and stuff like that, and you're just throwing them out there, you're going to stress heal eventually. Same thing can be said about Darkest Dungeon 2. Crits are a good way of managing your stress across the party, especially when they altered stress from 0 to 100 to 0 to 10 and stuff like that. So crits are even more valuable on that because you can heal 1 to 2 pips on a crit. Anyways, that's Darkest Dungeon 2, not Darkest Dungeon 1. Let's go over camp skills real quick. I kind of focus a little less on camp skills, mostly because there's no real community consensus on how the fuck you balance camp skills, other than the time costs for preventing nighttime ambushes. Those are a little bit more scrutinized because there is a standard applied to those in the know. Other than that, there's no, it's just fucking throw shit at the wall and see what sticks when it comes to camp skills. I'm serious. There's some crazy fucking effects out there when it comes to camp skills. Anyways, sketchy remedies. 1 companion, 2 time costs 2. 1 companion, heal 15% HP. Remove blight, remove disease. I can tell you that right now, Plague Doctor is who I'm going to look to. So, Plague Doctor, 3 time costs, remove blight, remove disease. 3 time costs? Okay, heal 15%. Okay, this is just better leeches. That's the closest analog I can think of is leeches. If this... I think this one's... this is good. Just it's power creeping Plague Doctor by like 1 time cost. That's about it. That's all I can say about it. Leeches is good. You get rid of disease and get rid of you heal a little bit. Removing disease is always good. 2 time cost is very good. If I were to balance this, even she doesn't like to change her classes after release. I would increase it by 1 time cost. That's all I would change to it. Okay, self caress. Time cost 1, self only plus 17 stress. 1 companion minus 25 stress, and then minus 15% stress for 4 battles. That's pretty good. We need to pull up Jester real quick. I'm looking off the screen. I'm not going to throw up any on-screen notifications or notifications. God, my brain. I'm not going to throw up any on-screen comparisons. I'm just using the darkestdungeon.wiki.gg. Fuck the fandom. Fandom sucks. Don't use fandom. Okay. So 1 companion, 20 stress. All companions minus 20 stress. That's a 2 time cost. Every rose has its thorn. Okay, so it's a little inefficient compared to Jester. Basically better pep talk. Yeah, it's just better pep talk in all honesty. Okay, it's okay. The minus 25 stress is really good to have, and you can use it twice. That's pretty good. Mysterious tonics. 1 companion. I think Antiquarian has something like this. You can go ahead and check her real quick. Josephine, where are thee? Yep, Strange Powers, 2 time cause, 20 Blight, Bleed, Move, Debuff, Disease. What does Mysterious do? Bleed, Blight, Move, Debuff, and Accuracy. No disease resistance. 3 time costs. Okay. 3 time costs for a little bit accuracy and the other debuff or resistances. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Considering Strange Powers is 2 time cost with disease resistance, she is giving an extra time cost for accuracy over disease. Okay. And then Trinket Touch Up. 2 time cost, self only minus 30 stress. Okay, so she's got some pretty good self-sustain with that for her stress. Okay, 2 time cost. Not too shabby. So her camp skills ain't like freaking crazy. They're not super crazy. But she has a couple good standouts. Mysterious tonics. And a cheaper remove disease. Another hero with remove disease. Thank fucking God. I like that she has this because I play what is called Highlander. Highlander is essentially you can only have 1 of every modded class. You only have 1. It's basically referring to the series called Highlander, where it's like there can only be 1, this and that, that kind of thing. Kind of like a Nuzlocke, but you know, not as strict. Some people play it a little bit more strict. Anyways, more people having removing disease. I don't care if it's power creep and Plague Doctor or not. Fuck it, don't care. Give me more remove disease. Give me more frontline stress healers. Give me more debuffing prod. Oh my God, the enemies, modded enemies with the fucking prod is unbearable. I love removing prod. I love armor piercing. Thank God that shit exists more. But removing disease, especially with some nasty summer dial diseases out there, that's nice to have. That is very, very, very nice to have. I love it. Now her HP. Alright, let's take a look at her overall stats. So I gotta go to the darkestdungeon.wiki.gg once again. They have a handy dandy little stat table here that makes everything much easier to compare on the fly. So let's go ahead and expand this chart out. So her HP is pretty on par. Okay, so the lowest HP in the game is 29, and the highest HP in the game is 63 with Leper. 29 being antiquarian. So she's sitting around 39. So she's around Shieldbreaker, Helmmaster, Plague Doctor, Flagellant range. So around their ranges, which is pretty good, pretty decent. Her dodge sits around 20. So let's take a look at the list. So the highest dodge in the game is 35 with Jester, and the lowest dodge is 20 with Leper. So she sits in the middle of the road. Actually, yeah, she sits about middle of the road. Not too bad. She sits there alongside, again, Flagellant, Plague Doctor, Vestal, Herbalist, you know, with the lowest dodge. So, in fact, she's not as dodgy as the others. She has a 6% natural crit, which is actually not too bad. She sits right there with Abomination, Man-at-Arms, Plague Doctor. She is like a complete parallel to Plague Doctor. She has a lot of similarities to Plague Doctor. Plague Doctor also has a 6% crit. And her damage range was 7 to 12. And the damage ranges in this game, the highest being 13 to 26, which is the fucking outlier of the group because it's Leper. We also have 11 to 20 with Abomination, 10 to 19 with Hellion and Crusader. So, what was it, 7 to 12? Yeah, 7 to 12. So we're looking at, well, Occultist, Jester, Houndmaster. In fact, she's lower than them by like 1 point. Plague Doctor 7 to 13, and then Flagellant 5 to 11. So she actually has very low damage compared to everyone else. She lags behind the third lowest, which are, you know, Houndmaster makes up for it with Mark. Jester makes up for it with Finale. Occultist makes up for it for his massive freaking benefits of Mark teams and his heals. So she's closest comparable to Plague Doctor and, dare I say, Vestal in a way. She's more frontward heavy with her stunning capability on like Vestal, and she is more backline friendly with her blight. She doesn't have a bleed unlike Plague Doctor. So stat wise, she's very comparable to Plague Doctor, but her kit is an amalgamation of Grave Robber, Plague Doctor, Flagellant, a little bit of Occultist, a little bit of Antiquarian. She has a big funny button, and once again, Plague Doctor. And then her camp skills are a mixture of Jester and Antiquarian with one Plague Doctor, actually power equipped Plague Doctor skill. Her trinkets, I haven't really gotten all of her trinkets. They're pretty much stat sticks. They're nothing too crazy. Steel Syringe, she has higher blight chance, higher debuff chance, which is not too bad. Now her speed, she has 5 speeds, so let's take a look at her handy dandy little list here. So lowest speed in the game is 3 with Crusader, highest speed in the game is 10 with Grave Robber. So, what was that? Yeah, 5. So she sits around, well, actually she's slower than the entire fucking roster. She's right there alongside Arbalist and Man-at-Arms. With her self-buffing of +3 speed, she passes them and goes up to 8 speed, and she'll be as fast as an Occultist, while trailing behind with Houndmaster, Highwayman, Bounty Hunter, Antiquarian, and all that, trailing behind her, and then followed by Vestal, Hellion, and all that, and then the rest. So she's kind of, she's slow, and then she starts buffing herself. The Force Guard is a +4, so that would jump her up to 9. So she'll be as fast as an Abomination and Jester, and as fast as a Plague Doctor. And of course, Flagellant at 9 speed as well. So she'll take a minute to ramp up her speed with the uses of her skills, stuff like that. Her resistances, pretty average resistances, all things considered. She has pretty similar resistances to, I get, what it looks like is Plague Doctor. Like I said, more analogs to Plague Doctor, this, that, and the other. So, to wrap up her kit review real fast. Before we do that, let's go ahead and do some reading. So, Mediator, her blacksmith description is, a wolf plush dangles beneath her weapon, swaying with every movement. Does it hinder her from firing? Well, so far it hasn't. Her uniform is short, her accessories gleam, but if that looks like a problem to you, then you must have something wrong with your eyes. Okay, I like that. Let's see, her guild description. Wearing an unreadable smile, the Mediator rouses her companions with refined stimulants, never quite distinguishing between treatment or experiment. And finally, the survivalist. Soft embrace, sketchy remedies, and clouded eyes. Camping with the Mediator is always a little dangerous, yet somehow everyone finds themselves drawn to her. Okay, leaning into the allure that she's been designed around. So anyways, that's the Mediator in terms of her base skills, base stats, and all that stuff. She's pretty good. She's pretty simple on the surface. She has, some nuance in how you run her with her speed buffs and all that stuff. There's a lot of good optimization you can do with her, around both her stun and the force guard. But her neural stimulant, if you want to gamble on your crits and you're building around crits, this is very good too. Her blight is not too crazy. It's something to press. You can spam this and really, you can pair this up with other synergies of removing damage with other characters that can reduce damage. The minus 15 dodge is okay, but I'm mostly going to be pressing it for, blighting things with blight synergy and reducing that damage, which is pretty good. This is actually, strangely enough, her weakest skill, I would say. It's ironically her weakest skill, because this is a good heal, this is a good heal, this is a good stun, this is crazy good with certain setups, this is fucking cracked out for the dodge debuff alone, and this is a good fight opener. This is the weakest skill by far, because it's just weaker poison darts from Great Robber, pretty much. It's just a weaker poison darts. It does the same damage with a little less crit and does less blight, and her damage is like 2 lower, so at most it's pretty much useful for the blight debuff and debuff synergy, blight synergy, yada yada yada. Mostly you're going to be running her for the support. Either way, she still has a very solid kit. She's not too crazy, but she's not like weak by any means. She's another solid healer. Ladies and gentlemen, that would be it for this little review of her. I'm going to do a couple runs with her and transition to that. Hope you guys like this little showcase and review of the class. I highly recommend Beeble Player. If you don't like anime eyes, deal with it. Live with it. Her shading is a little off compared to base Darkest Dungeon, but who cares? She's really fun. She's really good. She's very expressive. She has... look at the freaking twitching ears, man. Come on. How is that not adorable? That's awesome. I love it. It's my favorite detail. It's a little twitch. Look at it. And the blinks, but it's the twitchy ears, man. Just something about the ears just gets me. Anyways, guys, see you in the dungeon. Bye.
precision and power. A powerful blow. Compassion is a rarity in the fevered pitch of battle. As the fiend falls, a faint hope blossoms. Perched at the very precipice of oblivion. Devastating blow. Champion falls. Singular strike. A time to perform beyond one's limits. weapon that cuts on its own. Confusion, nerves, and panic. Reeling, about to break. Quickly the tide turns. The bigger the beast, the greater the glory. Decimated. Festering fear consumes the mind. Compassion is a rarity in the fevered pitch of battle. Inspiration and improvement. Exposed to a killing blow. As life ebbs, terrible vistas of emptiness reveal themselves. The blood quickens. Becoming unwound. Returns even the boldest gaze. Uncertainty, the birthplace of dread. Prodigious size alone does not dissuade the sharpened blade. perhaps the turning point. Teetering on the brink, facing the abyss. Are driven back for a time.